Hello and welcome to Outside Views, the channel where we delve deeply into the political events and decisions that shape our world post-Brexit. Today's episode focuses on one of the most distressing and enduring consequences of Brexit, the removal of EU citizens from the UK while awaiting approval to stay. It's a story that exposes the devastating human cost of a political project sold on promises that now ring hollow. In the next time, we'll explore the roots of this issue, the historical context of Brexit, and the far-reaching implications of these policies. So, let's begin. When the Brexit referendum took place in 2016, much of the debate focused on slogans like "take back control" and promises of a brighter, more independent future. Supporters of Brexit painted it as an opportunity for the UK to reclaim its sovereignty, its borders, and its laws. But for millions of EU citizens living in the UK, Brexit represented something else entirely: uncertainty, fear, and as we now see, betrayal. EU citizens living in the UK had moved here under the framework of free movement, a core principle of the European Union. I did that once. And this principle allowed EU nationals to live, work, and build their lives across member states, fostering economic growth and cultural exchange. In the UK, EU nationals became an integral part of the workforce, particularly in sectors like healthcare, education, and hospitality. They weren't just workers, they were neighbors, friends, and for many, family. During the referendum campaign, Leave advocates like Boris Johnson, Michael Gove, and others repeatedly reassured voters that the rights of EU citizens living in the UK would be protected. And these reassurances were crucial in softening concerns about the potential human cost of Brexit. Nothing will change for EU citizens already living here, they said. Their rights will be guaranteed. But these promises, like so many others made during the Brexit campaign, have not been kept entirely. So let's start with the EU settlement scheme introduced by the UK government as part of the post-Brexit transition. This scheme was supposed to provide a pathway for EU nationals to secure their status and remain in the UK. In theory, it was simple. EU citizens could apply for either settled or pre-settled status, depending on how long they had lived in the country. In practice, the scheme has been anything but straightforward. Since its launch, it has been plagued by delays, errors, and inconsistencies. Millions of EU nationals applied, but thousands found themselves caught in a bureaucratic nightmare. Applications were rejected over minor technicalities, documentation requirements were unclear, and communication from the Home Office was often poor. For those who fell through the cracks, the consequences were severe. Recent reports have revealed that some EU nationals awaiting decisions on their applications have been detained, deported, or pressured to leave the UK. And these are not isolated incidents. They reflect systemic issues in the way the UK has handled its post-Brexit immigration policies. Take the case of Maria, an EU national who had lived in the UK for over 20 years. She had built a life there, raised a family, and worked tirelessly to contribute to her community. Yet, due to an oversight in her application, she was told she had no legal right to remain. Her story is heartbreaking, but it's far from unique. Across the UK, thousands of EU nationals face similar predicaments. Their lives upended by a system that seems indifferent to their contributions and their humanity. To understand how we got here, we need to step back and look at the broader context of Brexit. Angela Merkel, in her newly published memoir Freedom, reflected on Brexit as a humiliation for the European Union. She described it as a bitter lesson for both the UK and the EU, highlighting the missteps and rigidities that led to this rupture. And one of the key moments Merkel identified was David Cameron's attempt to renegotiate the UK's membership terms in 2016. Facing growing pressure from his party's Eurosceptic wing and the rise of UKIP, Cameron sought concessions on free movement, which was one of the most contentious issues in the Brexit debate. And Merkel, while sympathetic, faced resistance from other EU leaders who were unwilling to compromise on core principles. The failure of these negotiations played a significant role in the referendum outcome. But the seeds of Brexit were sown long before 2016. Cameron's decision to withdraw the Conservative Party from the European People's Party, the EPP bloc, in 2009 isolated the UK from centrist allies in Europe, and Merkel in her memoir described this as a turning point that weakened Britain's influence in Brussels. By the time Cameron sought renegotiation, his standing among European leaders had diminished, and his ability to secure meaningful concessions was limited. The referendum itself was a gamble, a high-stakes political move intended to silence critics and stabilize the Conservative Party. Instead, it unleashed forces that reshaped Britain and Europe in ways few anticipated. The Leave campaign, driven by promises of sovereignty and control, also exploited fears about immigration. Misinformation and inflammatory rhetoric dominated the debate, turning EU nationals into scapegoats for broader societal frustrations. After the referendum, the focus shifted to implementing Brexit, and the withdrawal agreement included provisions to protect the rights of EU nationals, but the reality has fallen far short. And the EU settlement scheme's flaws are not just administrative, they are emblematic of a deeper failure to honor the commitments made during the referendum campaign. The impact on EU nationals has been profound. For many, Brexit has meant living in a state of perpetual uncertainty. Families have been separated, careers disrupted, and communities torn apart. And the psychological toll is immense. People who came to the UK believing they were welcome now feel like outsiders in the country they once called home. And this crisis raises broader questions about Britain's post-Brexit identity. What kind of country do they want to be? Are they a nation that values its residents and honors its commitments, or one that treats people as expendable in pursuit of political goals? The treatment of EU nationals also has implications for the UK's international reputation. Angela Merkel's reflections on Brexit highlight the interconnectedness of our world and the importance of thoughtful, principled leadership. Britain's handling of this issue has drawn criticism from advocacy groups, legal experts, and even its own citizens. It has eroded trust between the UK and the EU and diminished Britain's standing on the global stage. And as we reflect on these stories, it's clear that Brexit's impact is far from over. The human cost of this political experiment continues to unfold, affecting not only individuals and families, but also the very fabric of British society. For EU nationals, the promise of security has been replaced by anxiety and fear. For the UK, the challenge now is to rebuild trust, repair relationships, and ensure that no one is left behind. So thank you for watching Outside Views again. And if you found this discussion insightful, please like the video, share it, and subscribe to the channel for more detailed analyses of the political events shaping our world post-Brexit. And I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. How do you think the UK should address the treatment of EU citizens post-Brexit? So let's continue this important conversation. And until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and let's keep questioning the decisions that define our future. Take care, and the next video is right here in the end screen.